Are we alone? What if non-human intelligence has already given us a definitive answer, written for the world to see? In 1974, humanity sent a message into space, a picture made of ones and zeros. Decades later, a crop formation appears next to a radio telescope in England, and it looks like a reply. Then a year later, another formation appears nearby, this time with an alien face and a binary disc containing a warning message. Today we are doing a deep dive on these crop formations. What would it take for humans to make these complex designs? Are there deeper layers to be unveiled? Let's find out.
This message says, "Beware the bearers of false gifts and their broken promises."
As with many of my videos, I'd like you to rate these events on a scale from 1 to 10, with 1 being a hoax, 10 being alien communication through these crops. In a previous video, I've covered the legendary Oliver Castle crop circle footage, linked down below. It's a fascinating case, but far from the only interesting crop formation to cover. For centuries, crop circles have said to have sprouted up all over the world, sometimes flanked by small orbs. While many crop circles are undoubtedly human-made, some defy imagination. Absolute precision with no footprints left behind.
I'm quite convinced now, having commenced this back 8 years ago, thinking we were probably looking at some form of very elaborate hoax, I am totally convinced, with all the data now at our disposal, that there is some form of thinking, some thought component involved here.
Scientific anomalies, including increased size of node stalks, rapid extra growth in crops from the circles, crops being bent or weaved together instead of broken. Even numerous instances of small magnetic materials usually found in meteorites found scattered in the crop circles.
The normal amount of magnetic iron in soil is 0.4 milligrams per gram of soil. We're seeing up to 50 to 100 times that amount in these crop formations. Has all the earmarks of meteoritic material. Like I say, if it walks like a duck, it talks like a duck, must be it.
Levengood's only explanation is that these deposits are from meteors. In samples from a formation in England, this material even coated the plants.
Now, these critics, they will tear into all my statistically sound results, but they have no alternative ideas, they have no rebuttal data, they have nothing.
However, the official explanation for all crop circles: 2 middle-aged men named Dave and Doug, who used boards and rope while potentially pole vaulting to avoid leaving footprints. Seriously.
And one evening, summer evening, we saw a cornfield, and I remarked to him about this. And I said, why don't we put a circular depression in this cornfield, the same as they had out in Australia? I said, the UFO Society here, which was at its height at the time, Warminster especially, I said, they will probably think that it is a UFO that had landed.
I'm not doubting that many crop circles are made by humans and hoaxes. However, we need to look at the ones that are anomalous or stand out. Today we're looking at the Chilbolton and Crabwood crop formations. Before we can examine the crop circles themselves, we have to understand the message non-human intelligence may seem to be answering. In 1974, humanity sent a deliberate binary message from the Arecibo Observatory in Puerto Rico. It was designed by Frank Drake, with help from Carl Sagan and other scientists.
Great dish at Arecibo in Puerto Rico, the observatory director, Frank Drake again, beamed a message at the stars. This was in 1974. It wasn't exactly a serious attempt at communication. The message only lasted 3 minutes, but it was aimed at a cluster of 300,000 stars called M13 in the constellation Hercules. So when it gets there, someone or thing might spot it. But we're not in for a snappy conversation. We couldn't get an answer for 50,000 years, even if they understand it. And to do that, they'll have to realize it's intended to form a picture. Then, if they're good at binary arithmetic, they'll learn the details of our biology. And they even get a picture of us, and a diagram of the radio telescope which sent the message. Though they might wonder why it's upside down.
If you aren't familiar with binary code, think of it this way. A computer can operate on two numbers, ones and zeros. Makes me think of the Matrix. On and off, yes or no. Putting these groups of zeros and ones together, you can create code, or words. The Arecibo message was created out of 1679 binary digits, arranged so when you place the bits on a grid, you get an image, which looks like this. The number of digits, 1679, was not random. It was chosen because it factors into 23 and 73, which are both prime numbers. It helps the recipient potentially figure out how to lay out the bits correctly. Let's break down each layer of this message, which will be important for later. Section 1 counts in binary from 1 to 10. The numbers are written so the recipient can figure out how to read the message. The next section encodes hydrogen, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, and phosphorus, the basic chemical building blocks of life. The next sections explain our DNA, both its building blocks and the layout of the double helix. Moving on, we see a simple stick figure human. It shows the average height of a human, about 5'9", and the population of Earth at the time. Here we see the highlight of the third planet from the Sun, telling a potential entity where we live. Finally, the last section identifies the sending instrument itself, the Arecibo telescope, and gives its diameter. So the Arecibo grid is basically the counting system, life chemistry, DNA, human scale, planetary location, and how the message is being sent. Now let's jump decades ahead to August 14th, 2001.
It's that time of year again. Hardly a summer goes by without a crop circle appearing somewhere in the south, and this year is no exception. But the two new ones, which have materialised in a field in North Hampshire, are a little different.
They appear to show a human face and a digital pattern in a sort of corn Morse code. Mulder and Scully weren't available, so we sent Catherine Road.
Latest designs have appeared on farmland at Chilbolton near Andover, right next door to an observatory. They appeared under cover of darkness, one 6 nights after the other. One crop rectangle shows the shadowy features of a man's face, but the other appears to be a message in binary code.
Proof of extraterrestrial life, or just a bloke with a roller and a sense of mischief? One thing's for certain, these are no ordinary crop circles. For a start, they're rectangular, and one has a pattern on it which could be a coded response to a radio message sent into space 30 years ago.
The first was a face built from tiny dot-like crop sections. It's a dot matrix portrait, a picture built from small grid-like units. Standard crop circles are composed of lines, circles, and shapes of flattened crops. Whoever created this specific crop formation had to account for different size quote-unquote dots to form this image specifically to be viewed from an aerial perspective. The height and angle of the wheat determine the intensity of the dark or shadowed areas. In the darker areas of the face, the wheat was laid down in multiple intricate layers, swirled in opposite directions. Despite the complexity, there were virtually no snapped or broken stalks, reportedly, which is the primary hallmark of mechanical plank and rope hoaxing. Lab tests on the stalks within the quote dots showed significant node lengthening, consistent with a rapid burst of heat, potentially microwaves, that made the stalks pliable enough to bend without breaking. I just want to emphasize before moving forward, This formation appeared overnight next to a government radio telescope facility. They were working in the dark in a forest of wheat and left no traces or footprints to create this dot image, highly complex. A few days later, right next to the Chilbolton face, a new crop formation appeared. The second was a binary grid. The formation was laid out in the same general style as the Arecibo Message, but with altered details, and it looked like a reply to the famous 1974 message. However, there are some major and fascinating differences in the response.
The message received described the same calculation system, but that silicon is most dominant in life forms in contrast to carbon. The drawing also clearly shows a humanoid figure with large head in relation to its body. It's also explained that they have an extra string in their DNA, are approximately 4 feet tall, inhabit the 3rd, 4th, and 5th planets in their solar system, and have a population of around 21.3 billion. Underneath, the telescope has been replaced by something more complex.
Section 1. The numbers 1 to 10 stay the same. This is important because it says that the reply is not rejecting the language of the Arecibo Message. It keeps the counting system intact. In the section with all the elements, notably silicon is added. An extra atomic number was inserted in the correct place, and when decoded it gives 14, which is silicon, possibly hinting at silicon-based life. Now we have the DNA, which is also different from the initial section. It shows an extra strand of DNA and changes in the nucleotide coding. In simple terms, it says the biological blueprint is different from Earth's. Now we have a visually striking change. A small-bodied, larger-headed being, which looks like a classic gray alien. The scale is 3.5 feet tall, which is very interesting. Population changes as well here. Looks like about 21.3 billion, which is far larger than Earth's 1974 population and almost triple what ours is now. In the solar system area of the message, looks like not just one home system. It emphasizes the 3rd, 4th, and 5th planets in whatever galaxy we're looking at here. The sun appears a little bit smaller. Looks like they're spreading out and populating their galaxy. The telescope section is also different. It looks like the final symbol is something unknown. However, a fascinating connection. August 2000, a year before this crop circle was found. Looks very similar to whatever this object is. Could this be their version of the Arecibo telescope, or how they're sending the message? Who knows, but interesting.
Appeared on the night of Thursday the 16th of August. It depicts the head of an extraterrestrial.
Next comes Crabwood in 2002. It's one of my personal favorite bits of non-human intelligence lore. Look at this thing. Researcher Lucy Pringle would take photos of this crop formation. She would also get in a helicopter and film it. The formation was photographed immediately after the discovery of this crop formation, and the field was examined before harvest. Obviously, we have the striking image of the classic stereotypical gray alien. One thing I want to point out about this photo of a quote alien, some researchers or whistleblowers have stated that the quote large black eyes, often described when looking at a gray alien, is actually a lens, similar to sunglasses. It appears here we see different eyes on this being. Just something to take note of. Some people claim that the fact that the creature looks like a stereotypical gray alien may point to this formation being fake. But what if they look like that when this is just direct communication? Next to the being is a disc, and this disc would actually contain a message in binary code.
It's in English and reads as follows. Beware the bearers of false gifts and their broken promises. Much pain, but still time. There is good out there. We oppose deception. Conduit closing.
If this message was really sent by a non-human intelligent being, there are questions we have to ask here. Who are the bearers of false gifts and broken promises? Maybe the gray alien, pictured here, is actually the species of false gifts and broken promises. Tinfoil hat warning here, but my mind drifts back to the story of President Dwight Eisenhower, rumored to have met with multiple species of non-human intelligent races, before reportedly making a deal with the species known as the Greys. If there's any truth to this, the deal would reportedly have involved that species giving humans access to technology in exchange for allowing them to conduct experiments on human beings, which I know is heavy. It's a deep rabbit hole, which I will link down below the full investigation that I have done on this rumor. I just think it's an interesting potential fit for this message. False gifts in the form of technology, broken promises in the form of abductions, opposing deception, which could be talking about a human race or a non-human intelligent race. Let me know down below in the comments what you think this message could be pointing to. Like I said, I just love this one. What a message, right? Some of the words are noticeably capitalized randomly. There's another word that may be encoded in the message. Some claim it says believe. Others claim it says the phrase Ilraju. One of the people who analyzed both the Arecibo and Crabwood crop formations was Paul Vigay. Vigay was a mathematician, a crop circle researcher, and even a computer specialist.
If a formation is obviously a hoax, what gives it away? I mean, some you can get to and you can immediately tell that there's muddy footprints or there's damaged crop, especially because when they're formed, they're predominantly in the night. So there's dew and there's damp and it's been raining. So obviously if you get there as soon as possible afterwards, you can see if there's muddy footprints or there's signs of entry. And also in what we call the sort of unknown or genuine ones, you get perfect bending, so the crop isn't actually snapped or bent over, it's just, you know, completely 90 degrees or even further with no damage at all, which is virtually impossible to do.
He was the one that originally deciphered the Crabwood Message. In 2009, he was found dead in Portsmouth at the young age of 44, and the investigation surrounding his death never was able to determine if it was suicide or an accident. Oddly, as we can see here in this newspaper article, the CCTV footage that was supposed to be showing the area he was somehow, quote, destroyed, which his family was upset about. Vigay and others would actually mention that the messaging in the Crabwood Circle could go deeper. The first layer is the obvious text. The second layer is the structure underneath that text. If someone deliberately changes capitalization in a binary message, they are changing the underlying code, not just the appearance. That means capitalization can function like a hidden channel. It was proposed by researchers that the capitalization pattern itself forms a 25-bit overlay, arranged as a 5x5 dot matrix. When shifted to a different line of coding, also known as base 64, one of the findings in the, quote, errors or capitalizations in the disk may translate to, quote, silent we watch, which sounds ominous. It's difficult to find some of Vigay's original work at this point, and he was noticeably researching this connection shortly before he passed away. Now, to be clear, this does not mean the second layer decode is proven in any one certain way. There are many ways to look at this, but it still bears mentioning. This crop formation itself is described to have been designed as a multi-layered image built from horizontal bands of different widths of crops. Again, cropping up, haha, overnight in the dark. This is not two men with boards and ropes pole vaulting. Highly complex and technical, appearing overnight, with complex binary code messaging and flawless design. But I want to know what you think. On a scale from 1 to 10, I want to hear your thoughts on how likely these crop formations are to either be a total hoax or created by a non-human intelligent source. To me, there are simply anomalies on both of these crop circles, and whoever created them obviously didn't take credit for them. The complexities, combined with the hidden messaging in these crop formations, and the fact that these were executed in the dark, I'm going to go with a 7. Some people may disagree, some people may rate crop circles lower, but I think the stigma needs to be looked at. This video to me is an outcry that we need to take a slightly deeper look at crop circles in general. We've seen anomalies, according to some studies, with the plants and the difficulties in making these. People ask, where is the physical evidence? Well, in some cases, it could already be here. Let's ignore the ones that are obviously human-made, with footprints, smashed, crushed, or broken crops. But the ones that appear anomalous, let's take them seriously. Because if something wanted to hide a message in plain sight, this could be how they do it. Thanks to everyone for watching, liking, commenting, subscribing, sharing the videos. Really does make it fun to make them. If you have something you want to see a deep dive on, leave a comment down below. Let me know. Until then, stay curious. Catch you next time.